Well, good morning and welcome to Elevenses with Kevin Williams. If I can just get my, there we are, my screen up. Right, it's 16th of December. We're just a few days away from Christmas. It's just turned a bit grey and miserable here. It was a bright start this morning. And we're now back in Tier 3 here in London. So, what have I got for you today? Well, I've got a few things. We've got a story about a police recovery of a haul of stolen bikes in West London. BMW are recalling some of their leather jacket due to levels of chromium 6 in the leather. A company in Australia is marketing an e-chopper, which I suspect is not the future of electric motorcycles. Simon Cowell's considering suing Swind, the e-bike manufacturer in the UK, for a back-breaking crash that he had out in California. So settle yourself down. Grab your cuppa. Don't forget, if you have a question or anything you want to ask, I will get back to you at the end of the show. Morning to Cheryl, who's just tuned in. Thank you for looking in, Cheryl. Okay, yeah. On with the show then. Right, okay. So first thing to say, quickie little personal note. I recorded a short interview for a New Zealand television station the other day on the science of being seen topic. Basically questions were being asked by the journalist concerned about an increasing number of collisions involving cars and motorcycles. There's a lot of new bikes on the road out there in New Zealand, not surprisingly, I suppose, in the circumstances. The interview is not aired yet. As far as I know, it is due to go up on air fairly shortly. But if I haven't ended up on the cutting room floor, which has happened in the past, I will let you know when it's available. I'll probably try and download it myself. All right, okay, on with the first story then. Back in September, a large number of stolen scooters and motorcycles were found in West London, but the news of that recovery has only just been made public. It all started when a motorcycle chassis was discovered in some woods not far from Heathrow Airport. The company tasked with Thames Valley Police with the recovery of the bike quickly realised that they had more than just one machine on their hands. There were in fact quite a few, 10 in the surrounding woodlands, and 7 more were dumped in a nearby river. Now, they got the bikes out and they attempted to work out from the remains of the VIN numbers and so on where the bikes came from, and they managed to identify a significant number of them. Most of them were actually reported stolen between 2018 and 2019, and they'd been taken from the Hillingdon area. And the common theme for all these bikes was they'd been stripped of components and the chassis burnt. 3 were not reported as stolen, which is interesting. 1 is believed to have been dumped around 5 years ago, while the other 2 also date to around about late 2018. So quite possibly those 2 at least are linked to the stolen bike. So it's possible that what was stolen was actually already a sort of a stolen machine. Anyway, most of the bikes were predictably small capacity machines, though there was actually one 900 diversion Yamaha. And the report actually concludes that they were stolen to order, because there was what had been taken off were items such as lights, instruments, seats, and bodywork. But there's actually a ready market for parts like that, because they're the ones that get damaged in crashes. And there's a lot of scooters and things hurtling around London at the moment. I doubt it would be very difficult to shift that kind of stuff. So if I find out any more about that, and if the investigation has gone any further, I will let you know. But obviously there are questions to be asked. Such a sort of a big, this is obviously a fairly well organised scheme. Right, okay, so moving continents now over to Australia. Over there, a man who was disqualified to 2052 which is hardly a short disqualification, is it? Was still caught riding a motorcycle last week in a place called Coolangatta, which is on the Gold Coast, about 50 miles south of Brisbane. Patrolling officers spotted a motorcycle being ridden in what they considered to be a dangerous fashion. So they pulled the rider up, and on checking, they found that he was disqualified from holding a license for the next 32 years. Further investigation also revealed that the number plates did not match the motorcycle's VIN number. And on being searched, it's alleged he was also in possession of amphetamine. Not too surprisingly, the 36-year-old rider was arrested and charged with a range of offences there. And even less surprisingly, he was refused bail when he appeared in court the next day. Okay, so don't forget, if you want something to read about better biking, you can head over to my Lulu Spotlight page there. The address is whipping past in front of you. There is actually a 15% discount on all the prices over there at the moment, courtesy of my publishers, who are having a little pre-Christmas sale. Whether you'll get them in time for Christmas right now, I doubt, but if you want to organise a sort of a last-minute Christmas present for somebody, even if it is late, that's possibly one thing you might like to look at, some of my books over there on Lulu. Right, okay, do you own a BMW club leather jacket in a man's cut? Well, if you do, BMW would like you to return it. They have recalled the entire production run of these jackets due to fears that the leather that they're constructed with is contaminated with excessive levels of chromium. The jacket is described as a combination motorcycle leisure casual jacket. It's manufactured in a soft cowhide with a slightly pre-washed and tumbled look. The jackets are distinguished because they have a 1978 inscription on them. It's printed in the lining and it's also embossed on the sleeve, and it refers to the year that BMW actually started selling rider wear equipment. They retail at around £375. They're not a cheap jacket. All men's jackets in this range are being recalled, and all stock in this range has also been removed from shelves. Owners are being asked to hand the affected items of clothing in at an authorised BMW Motorrad dealership. And then it says, irrespective of age, the affected items can be exchanged for an equivalent product from the BMW Motorrad range. So what's the problem here? Well, it's the chemical Chromium 6, which is used in the tanning process of the leather. It's quite a nasty chemical, and it can cause allergic reaction in some people, such as inflammatory skin reactions, swelling, blisters, itchy red spots, and peeling. And the information on that chemical actually says that whilst initially the reactions are restricted to the points in direct contact with the contaminated leather, in extreme cases, the reaction can actually spread right through the body. The guidance is that there should be no more than 3 parts per million of chromium 6 in leather that comes into contact with skin. If you have a BMW leather jacket in this range, it's remember the club leather jacket in the man's cut. If you have one of those, just have a check your model, and I would be off to your local BMW dealer Toot Sweet to take it back. So just double check if you've got any BMW clothing there. Okay, so what else has been going on in the world? Well, you probably realised, of course, that the tier system has been updated, and here in London we've been moved to tier 3. If you have been moved into tier 3, I'll just give you a quick reminder of how the advice has changed. You can still ride, and you can still do rides with small groups. It's tier 2 people maximum in tier 3. So basically you can either carry somebody on your own passenger pillion seat from your own household or from a different household, or you could meet one other rider, but you cannot do both, and you cannot meet in bigger groups in tier 3. And you should not leave tier 3 either, which makes it a little bit difficult to have an interesting ride out of London, of course. You should always avoid stopping in a sort of tier 1 or tier 2 area if you do travel outside a tier 3 group. Okay, all looking a bit grim for Christmas as well, isn't it, right now? Right, okay, let's just show you a picture. Let's just set that up again. The market for electric motorcycles is turning from a trickle, not quite into a flood yet, but certainly the flow rate is going up and up and up. And many of the motorcycles that we're seeing, the electric bikes, are coming from small companies, and they're obviously filling what they see as a void, as the traditional motorcycle manufacturers are pretty much avoiding grasping the electric nettle. So here's the latest of these bikes that I've spotted. It's from Brisbane, oddly enough, just up the coast from the previous Australian story. The company concerned are called Electric Mobility Solutions, or EMoS, and they have formally unveiled their new Wild, with a Y, e-chopper. And that went on show at the Launch, Show and Ride Electric Vehicle Expo at the University of South Queensland on their Springfield campus. The bike itself has a top speed of 50 kilometers per hour, which is 30 miles per hour, roughly speaking, in our money, and has a range of 80 kilometers, which is about 50 miles. The big plus for this machine, the manufacturers believe, is that it's legitimate to ride one of these on a normal car license in Queensland, South Australia, Northern Territory and Western Australia. But EMoS believes that the styling's a big draw. I'm not so sure about that. But the other factor that they point out is that the battery is actually a removable one. And what they say is that this means that no external charging point is required, which is a good thing, of course, if you happen to live in an apartment block or indeed, like I do, in a street with no off-road parking. However, whether the 8 hangers and the chopper styling is the way forward is doubtful, particularly as they claim that the aims of the machine are more safety and more agility. I'm not convinced about that. The founder of the company, Wolfgang Rothman, claims that the company's philosophy has been different from the start, and that he wants people to turn their heads for our vehicles and to be excited about the form and the function, and to make a statement for electric vehicles. However, I have to be honest, it's not the kind of statement that I would like to be giving anyone. Given that the performance is more in line with the company's existing range of personal electric mobility scooters, I can't honestly see many Harley owners being converted anytime soon either. However, if it floats your boat, I guess it does the trick. Okay, meanwhile, winter gift vouchers are also available from Survival Skills. The plan for these things is that basically you buy the voucher now and you save later when someone comes to take the course. If you buy a £50 voucher, when you book the course next year, it'll be worth £60. So obviously you will save £10 on the course cost. If you buy a £100 voucher, then your saving on the course will be £20. It'll be worth £120. You can buy more than one until they run out. There is a limited number available, and you can buy them either for yourself or as a gift for somebody. The only provisos really are they're non-refundable and they cannot be exchanged for cash. Right, okay, what else is in the news? Well, Simon Cowell is making the news again, possibly for all the wrong reasons. Over in the USA, he is lining up his Roth and pointing it at a small British e-bike manufacturer. You may remember back in the summer that Cowell had a crash on an electric bicycle where he suffered some serious injuries. Now he's seriously considering taking action against Swind, who manufactured the EBO1 that he fell off of. The EBO1, basically, it's a kind of a bit of a crossover. It looks like a mountain bike. It's got pedals and then generally looks like an electric bicycle, but it has motorcycle kind of power output. The electric motor is a 15 kilowatt one, and that's punchy enough to give the bike a top speed of 60 miles per hour. And legally speaking, it is a motorcycle, so it would need tax and insurance to ride on the road, even in the US. Here in the UK, I believe that it actually doesn't meet the regulations for either category. So it's off-road only, in other words. However, anyway, the TV star apparently spotted the bike at a motor show in January in the UK, and he was one of their first customers. The bike was then shipped off to his Malibu home, where he tried it out on his own driveway, lost control, fell off, landed on his back and broke 3 vertebrae. Okay, so buyer beware. Well, one former Swind employee has apparently claimed to The Sun that he worried that Cowell could break his effing neck on the bike. Those are his words. He indicated that the bike required specialist training and demonstration, saying this thing is a death trap and should never have been sold to Simon without him being taught how to use it. Now, based on sort of statements like that, Cowell's now reported to be considering taking legal action against the manufacturer, with a figure as high as £10 million being floated to cover pain, suffering, lost income, etc., etc. According to a representative for Cowell, Simon is apparently extremely concerned for other people's safety in relation to this bike. We've been pressing the manufacturer about this and will continue to press them, including in relation to the claims of the former member of staff. Well, okay, caveat emptor, buyer beware. Well, you kind of think so, don't you, really? Do you get on a more powerful motorcycle and then sue the manufacturer because it wasn't quite what you expected? There is a degree of taking all this with some caution. I'm pretty sure that Simon Cowell would have known full well that the thing was capable of 60 miles per hour when he bought it. I very much doubt that that was not part of his buying strategy. Maybe he didn't expect it to pull a wheelie straight away, and maybe there is a case, as somebody else has said, that the bike should have a sort of anti-wheelie software built into the control system. But at the end of the day, when we jump on a motorcycle, we do have to take some care. Not everybody does. I remember very clearly, I just popped into an old Kawasaki dealer in the Kentish Town area to get some brake pads. And as I was leaving the shop, they were just wheeling out a GPZ 750 Turbo. Now, that gives you sort of a date marker, doesn't it? That would have been somewhere around about the 83, 82, 83, somewhere around about there. And someone was taking it for a test ride. Well, I'd never seen one of these bikes before in the flesh, so I sort of had a look at it, and I listened to the dealer explaining to the guy who said, yes, I'm an experienced rider, I understand all that. And the guy's parting words were along the lines of, take care, the turbo comes in with a bit of a bang. So the guy sort of looked over his shoulder, revved the engine, dropped the clutch, and pulled a wheelie straight into the side of a car that was just pulling out down the road. So, where do you draw the line between manufacturer culpability in selling something like that and user error? Hopefully, Simon Cowell's court case, in my opinion, it would be a bad thing if it set a precedent. Right, okay. What else was I going to talk about? I think actually that was pretty much it, wasn't it? That was the show today. Right, okay, so I'll be back on Sunday. I'll be taking a look at Moto Guzzi's brand new V7. It's a much updated bike. It's one I'm always been a little bit fond of. And I'm adding an extra installment to the 3-part series I've run over the last 3 Sundays on braking technique. And that's because just after I did last week's show, I happened to read an article which possibly has some of the worst advice on braking that I've ever seen. So I'll update you on that next week on Sunday. So set a reminder every Wednesday and Sunday at 11. You can also catch up with these shows here on Facebook after they've finished, and they're also available over on my YouTube channel, which is Survival Skills UK. Okay, and if you have enjoyed the show, please consider supporting me over on my Ko-fi page. £3 gets you access to an increasing number of old Facebook articles. There's way over 250 up right now, and I'm working my way through 2016 towards 2017. And hopefully I'll start 2017 before Christmas. Right, thank you very much indeed for tuning in. So that's it from me for today. Hopefully see you on Sunday. Bye for now.